Welcome back to another episode of Ingredients for a Better Life. I'm DNA Chef Jay, joined weekly by Dr. Robert Nettles, MD, Chief Medical Scientist and founder of the Stop and Regrow Hair Regrowth Program. Good morning, doctor. It's good to see you today on this first week of the new year. How was your New Year's and how's your new year going thus far?
Good morning, Chef Jay and Ingredients for a Better Life. Today, better than yesterday. Tomorrow, better than today. So we're sticking around. But Happy New
That's it.
Year, a brand new year, one time around the sun and back again.
That is it. So to get right to it, I want to put up a quick warning to the viewers that we clearly do not advocate or support or what the topic we're talking about isn't something that we're in agreement and pushing right off the bat because it's pretty controversial trend that's happening. I myself am a fan of the UFC. I love UFC fighting, and I know a lot of the viewers, people on the program, love UFC as well. And so Dana White, who is the president of UFC, has started and he's advocating this 7-day water fast, right? So we are not, advocating it ourselves, but it's interesting for us to talk about. So what Dana White is doing pretty much is trying to go to an 8-day fast of just nothing but water. And the goal is to get the body into a ketonic state to have very, very limited carbs, zero carbs, and then only, utilizing things like bone broth and some electrolytes, sodium and potassium. But even Dana White did not, go to that 8-day marker because it's dangerous. And under his doctor, I think he only got to like 4 days. And we'll post here his results and how he went. But doctor, just kind of want to get into this fad of 72 hours with nothing but water, and then after the first day, maybe introducing some bone broth to get some protein in, and just like from a medical standpoint, doing this kind of starvation thing. One, is it safe, and two, like how often can people do it? Because the benefit of it is that they're saying that this type of fasting can, and there's no medical evidence of this, mind you, can rid yourself of things like risk for cancer and Alzheimer's, because when the body goes into that ketosis state, things start getting released to get rid of dead cells, and it regenerates growth. And then other people are talking about hallucinogenic properties and getting closer to God. I know you have American Indian heritage, and there's a history of hallucination with religion. So I just wanted to get your opinion on this whole thing, and we could talk some details after.
All right, Chef Jay, thank you very much for all of this information. So the first thing I think we should do with information is just try to process it. So Dana White is the person speaking. Is Dana White a medical professional like a physician?
No, no, doctor, he isn't.
Okay, is Dana White a scientist that studies ketosis and ketotic organic chemistry in his laboratory?
No, not at all. Not at all.
All right.
Yeah.
So, Chef Jay, I'm a scientist. So, first thing I do when I hear nonsense, I put it in a category called nonsense. So, without rigorous studies, this superstition is all around. This was going around before medicine was invented just 150 years ago, and now we're back repeating the nonsense. And how does that make sense when you believe that we are evolving? You read the Bible, right, and you realize evolution is nonsense. We're not evolving. Each generation is wicked. And in the end days, in the last days, which we are now entering, the mind will become illogical. And all this fasting is illogical. It's against logic. Your program is entitled Ingredients. Well, food is only made of three ingredients, Chef Jay. You have to eat the ingredients to make the molecules to make the cells in your body. So no,
Right.
fasting is nonsense. People fast because they don't know what to consume. Now that's a different. Then what they should do is have an appointment with you, Chef Jay. Hey, Chef Jay, I'm thinking about doing nothing. Well, all right, that's a
Well,
start. You won't go far with that one, will you, Chef Jay? So I think if you get them started with nothing and then start adding in some logic with some common sense, you would get someone to consume something every 3 hours based on the knowledge that you could impart in about 30 minutes of a session with you.
well, that's interesting because I recently talked to people, and Google can be a very dangerous place for people because they believe everything on Google is absolutely correct and
Well,
true.
Chef Jay, where does marketing go? How do you market to people? You market through Google. Google is
That's
for
it.
marketing. If you go to
Right.
Google to ask a question, you might as well ask a marketing team. Marketing teams can answer any question you can ask with a solution that they've decided is what
Yep.
they like to market. The problem with marketing, Chef Jay, if you don't have the solution that works, you can't really make any money marketing. And you and I happen to have the only knowledge that actually works. It's understanding nutrition, understanding molecules, understanding enzymes, understanding hormones, understanding first law of thermodynamics, understanding X-ray crystallography. And when you understand it all, you can see clearly. If you don't see it all, you can never see things clearly.
So, talking to people, they say, "Well, I see that blueberries are good for hair growth. I see grapefruit strengthens hair, so I'm going to eat a bunch of this." Kind of like the old theory about you have a Lamborghini or something like that. You don't just have anybody service your Lamborghini, right? You take it to a specialist with whatever it is in life you're doing. You want to find out who the specialist is, who's doing it the best before you take your prized possession. And what's more prized than our own one, selves that we only get one of. So you've been doing this research now for, I was doing the math as the new year takes over, and it's like, wow, doctor's been doing this for over 30 years now. And it's dangerous for people to say, oh, well, I see plums and blueberries and things are great, so I'm going to eat a whole bunch of that stuff. When they don't really even haven't tested themselves with your your DNA blood test, they haven't tested their what their sugar's doing. So it could be even dangerous to eat those items because as great as those blueberries may have antioxidant factors and things, they're loaded with sugar in quantity as well. So, without doing the baseline testing, it's all of these things are just, pretty ridiculous. But getting back to the fast, just to use an example, because I myself, hair growth, and I know that we grow hair at about half inch per month. Is that a true statement, doctor?
Well, about a half a millimeter per day, right? About a half
Which
an inch a
right.
month. Yep.
But for me, I myself find it difficult to gauge hair growth, whereas I kind of look at nail growth like is easier for me to gauge, and it makes me think, well, maybe my hair's growing kind of the same because my nails, grow pretty quickly, and that's a sign of a good circulation, good a healthy system. Nail growth is good. Um, just for an example, I dropped a heavy cooking cast iron skillet on my big toe about 6 months ago, and it cracked the nail totally across. And I said, and as it's growing out, I said, oh man, this is going to be cracked and broken all the way through it for until it grows out. But then I noticed that the nail's actually repairing itself. It's actually healing and it's growing on top of it, and there's new growth. So when I see these fasting and things, the thing I wanted to talk about was, protein. And when you put yourself into a negative, situation with protein, when you put yourself into, like we'll say like a negative, think of it like a checkbook or something. You put yourself into a negative count when you're fasting, and you know, these things aren't you're limiting your, not only your, rebuilding your cells, but your hair growth, your immunity is affected, so people aren't thinking when they see these fasts and things. One, they're not going to an expert to get an opinion or a baseline test. Hey, where am I at with, you can have surefire ways of testing for things like cancer and heart disease risk and cancer risk, because these numbers are indicative of future trends that could possibly become statistics. Whereas these fasts and everything are just, there's no testing, there's no science behind it, and it could be a bit dangerous, which is why I tell people, don't do these things, and especially don't do any fasting beyond 24 hours without seeing a medical professional, because they can be dangerous. Um, so at the end of that, I just wanted to get back to checking in with the experts, getting the DNA blood test, which is simple enough, and then finding out where you stand. If your sugars are out of whack, if your protein's deficient, if your what your hormones are doing, and then you can address the issue and talk about, oh yeah, you want to go and to do some fasting, you want to try to get closer to God and stuff. Yeah, you can do it, but don't do it without consulting a professional. And if it's hair regrowth you're trying to accomplish, this might not be the answer, in my opinion.
Well, you brought up some good points, Chef Jay. And one of the points you brought up, and I think maybe you could do a poll and ask how many of your viewers believe in evolution. And evolution means something comes from nothing. So if you believe something can come from nothing, you pretty much don't understand science, right? So no, something can't come from nothing. So you gave the analogy of repairing your toe over time, the toe nail bed. Over time, it repaired itself. If you were fasting, where were the materials? Where did it come from? How would you repair something? How would you lay down a layer of cement if you didn't ingest the cement? So no, fasting is not a good idea. Fasting is a nonsensical idea. Fasting works for people in the United States because 90% of Americans are fat, they're overweight, they're obese, and they need to lose weight. So of course, fasting works to get them to lose some weight. The problem is they didn't change their day-to-day habits. So I'd like your viewers to focus on something, not the day of the fast, not the 3 days of the fast, not the 7 days of the fast. How about the other 365 days? How about the rest of the year? What are those days? What did you do day to day? People want a fast fix down here, Chef Jay. They want to take a one pill and a one shot and a one this and a one that and a boy, I want to go in the gym once a month. I want to go in the gym once a year. I want to get a bicep and just blow it up with a balloon. People want things that are not possible. It's unfeasible. So they're asking for something that's not possible, and then they're asking for a way to get there that's not possible. So it's day-to-day health, optimal health on a day-to-day basis leads to optimal health in the long term. So I like us to focus on getting it right every day. And as you alluded to, getting the blood work is the key. The blood work sets up and tells us how your body wants to utilize the nutrients that are coming into the body. Once we understand the framework, the genetics of each individual human body, we then can calculate the amount of nutrients that need to go into that body. So look first, then make the decision.
And as far as that water fast goes, the results that were posted, there is some weight loss, sure, absolutely, but guess what else there is? There is muscle loss, and there's also deterioration of bone markers as well, which is not good. So, like you said, it's definitely not the way to solve anything. It's just a lot of people are impressionable, and they're influenced by people that with authoritative figures. People that are UFC presidents and Joe Rogan and all these guys. But at the same time, you look at these guys, Doc, they don't have any hair. So, um,
Chef J, you look at the fruits first, right? The Bible says look at the fruits of the tree, and
yep.
you see no hair on the head, and you see anxiety, you see depression, you see stress, and that's not a direction you want to take your human body down that road.
Yeah, and also we're gonna post some actual peer reviews, compilations of these different fastings for people that are actual, journals that are reputable, not just internet gossip and trends. So we'll put that for people to empower themselves. But as you said, it's a new year, it's um, a reborn, and it's also a scary time. A lot of the friends I speak to, my friends in the States, are being treated for the next round of COVID. They're home, they're not working, they're taking new vaccines, and so what I try to stress with people is, your protein is the building blocks of all living things, and hair loss is a cosmetic indication of something. Hey, something's wrong here. Something's unbalanced. So check in with Dr. Nettles, get the DNA blood test. Simple, you could do it anywhere. It's not like you have to be in California anymore. You can just go to a lab. They send the results to you. You meet over the internet like this, and we can find out what's happening. Oh, I'm anxious. Oh, maybe your hormones are a little out of alignment. Oh, I am foggy. My brain's, I can't think. Well, yeah, maybe you're in a pre-diabetic phase. Maybe that brain fog. It could. There's all we could speculate for the rest of the day, and I know we both have better things to do than speculation. So I say, like, beware of these trends, these fasts, these and next week it'll be another one. But with this crazy new world we're in, we want to protect ourselves, and the best way to do that is with a healthy immunity. And so don't be decreasing protein, and again, find out what your protein levels are. I mean, most people walking around couldn't tell you what where they stand, and it's a number. Like, you're not making this stuff up. You're not saying, oh, you have high cholesterol. You have, these are concrete numbers. You are 5.6 or you are 4.2, and you should be a 5. Like, you have it all mapped out numerically with research over time. Which the program now, I did the math. It's about $7 a day, maybe $7 to $10 a day, less than you can get lunch anywhere. So why wouldn't you want to invest in the most prized commodity, which is ourselves, and find out what's going on? New year, new you. Check in with Dr. Ray, get the DNA blood test, and then safely navigate through life. Hey, Doc, I want to get closer to God. I want to do a 48-hour fast. No problem, Joey. You can talk to them safely under supervision of a doctor, but don't do these haphazard, trendy, whatever. Next week they're going to say prick your finger and take the blood out and go stick it on a rock, and then that's going to do this. And then, and when I was a kid, they say if everyone jumped off a bridge or a building, would you do it just because they did it? So it's that same kind of, I call it like cyber peer pressure, what's happening. And it's quite irresponsible by these people of authority. So, Doctor, thank you for checking in. I appreciate you, tolerating our nonsense. But these are real things. And if you look at the numbers of people that are looking at these fasts, and these, a lot of people are subscribing to this stuff. So it's our responsibility to set the record straight. And I appreciate you joining today and giving us your medical standpoint. So Happy New Year, Doctor. And again, everyone, check in with the good doctor. You wouldn't believe how easy it is and how simple, and it'll be surprising what you can address pretty easily from that one blood test. So thank you, Doctor, for joining me on Ingredients for a Better Life, and we'll join you, everybody, again next week. Drop your comments. Doctor's not afraid to answer any questions, nor am I. So any questions, comments, just put them in the comment section. So thank you, Doctor, and we'll see you again next week.
Thank you very much, Chef Jay. Enjoy the rest of your day. I appreciate you.
You as well. Thank you. See you.